Hi there, Tanya. How are you
Good
today?
morning.
Yeah. So today we are here about LD 2174, which is very, very problematic from my point of view. Do you want to tell what you know about the bill?
Sure. Trying to keep this short. So, LD 2174 is a bill that proposes to shorten the time for permitting projects. And it proposes to make all ordinances null and void as they regard energy infrastructure, solar energy, wind energy, transmission lines, and energy storage projects. Any ordinances would be null.
So that's municipal ordinances, and
Correct.
there's over 400 municipalities in Maine. What have you heard about how many municipalities have this type of ordinance in place?
So we've heard from someone who works in the industry that at least 60%, if not more than 70%, of municipalities in Maine have passed ordinances regarding solar
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah. And so, as we know, most of these ordinances are passed through volunteer work. And essentially, this LD tries to undo, who knows, thousands, tens of thousands of hours of Mainer's work since 2018, passing these
Right.
ordinances.
Right. It's a huge slap in the face to all the people who worked on them, all the voters who showed up to vote for them, all the select boards who took time out to work on them. It's a really big deal.
It's too bad that we don't have vested rights for that kind of thing. What is the difference between some of these municipal ordinances, particularly regarding solar, and the state level statutes?
The state level puts it's a broad spectrum of this is how things could go. The local level says this is where how we're willing to coexist, how we want to coexist with this infrastructure. Knowing the local level, they know their towns best. They know the layout. They know the community needs. They know business needs. They just understand that so much better. So the state level just gives an outline, and the local level says this is how we're going to make this work for our town.
Right. And the local level also knows their fire truck capacity and fire
Absolutely, that's a really valid point. I know some of the solar ordinances that were written specifically were written because of the limitations of the fire departments, many of which are volunteer, many of which don't have big equipment to deal with infrastructure events. And so that's why these ordinances were written as specifically as they were.
Yeah. So this LD is in a committee that we don't usually follow. It's in committee environment and natural resources. And
Right.
typically energy stuff goes through energy utilities technology, which is called EUT in the shorthand. Why is it in environment and natural resources when it's all about energy?
Well, so the original bill language was all about permitting only, and it completely left out anything about local ordinances and energy infrastructure. So permitting, DEP permitting, I think, always goes to environment and natural resources. Why that's still there, I don't know.
Right. Okay. So there's also this idea that maybe the way the bill is proposed right now is unconstitutional. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So the way that the legislation works, it's a 2 year process. The first year is called the first regular session. The second year is the second regular session. We are currently in the second regular session. Second regular session, the only bills that can be heard are there's a limit to them. One of those bills is it's an emergency bill that is granted approval through the legislative council. They hear the topic of a bill, make a decision whether the bill is valid to be heard. So this bill was pushed through as part of emergency legislature. The Constitution says that emergency legislature cannot impact home rule. It says this in Article 4, Section 3, Paragraph 16.
Yes.
Specifically, it cannot impact home rule, yet this bill very much impacts home rule.
And this bill explicitly says it's an infringement on home rule
Absolutely.
by modifying that part of the statutes.
Absolutely. It says that local ordinances would be null and void and have no force or effect.
Yeah. So who do you think proposed this bill? we know it came from Representative Chris Kessler, but obviously the
Right.
representatives don't write the bills for the most part.
Right. During a conversation that I had with Representative Kessler, which I appreciate, he did call me and alert me to this bill. We had the conversation, and he said that the bill was brought to him by a law firm.
And what do we think that means?
Well, we think, we could be wrong, but we think that this law firm is probably one that represents um, generators, utilities, solar projects, and that they are paid lobbyists for those companies. And that's why this bill was proposed.
Right. And so again, we have a situation where we are volunteers and we are trying to track things and on behalf of very tiny municipalities. And we're facing paid lobbyists who are able to do it full time.
Right. That are paid by companies that have unlimited pockets.
Yeah. Okay, so we're way over our 5 minutes, but what can people do about this bill?
Write testimony and submit that for the public hearing. Get in touch with your representatives and your senators. Make sure that they're aware of this. Get in touch with your select boards and tell your select boards that the ordinances that they've supported are being voided, and inform as many people as you can.
Yeah, so the public hearing is this Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Correct.
at the Energy Natural Resources Committee, which I think is room 216 in Cross
I
Building.
believe that's correct. It is the Cross Building downtown.
But so we'd ask you to get in testimony before then, but if you can't, you have to get it in before next week, right?
Right. So the work session will probably be scheduled a week, maybe a week and a half out. That's how much time we have to get testimony in.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Thank you.